So before we start the meeting, I would like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, as the traditional owners of the country on which we live. We pay respect to their elders, past and present, acknowledge their continuing connections to land, sea, and community, and extend respect to traditional owners throughout Victoria. I would like to introduce our presenters. We have Emiliano Zucchi, Chief Executive Officer of Ethnic Communities Council of Victoria, Judith Abbott, Chief Executive Officer, Carers Victoria, Danielle Haultain, Director, Seniors, Carers and Elder Abuse Reform, Department of Families, Fairness and Housing, Moreen, Pakwan, Manager, Care Services, Carers Victoria, Randa, Abboud, Volunteer President, Arabic Women Seniors Group, Incorporation, and myself, Hayat, Carers Capacity Building Project Officer, Ethnic Communities Councils of Victoria. It's good to see all your faces. Now I would like to So first, we're going to start with our first presenter, Mr. Emiliano Zucchi, CEO of Ethnic Communities Council, to talk to us about the project and the Elder Abuse project, the work that Ethnic Communities Council is leading. Thank you, Emiliano.
Thank you very much, Hayat. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. I too would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to elders past, present. Thank you so much. Welcome to everybody. Thank you for making it. This forum, as you know, is part of our recognizing and respecting carers project, which aims to improve the well-being of carers for migrant and refugee communities. ECCV has been working with carer groups to identify hidden carers, connect them with support services, and build their capacity to support carers in their communities. An important focus of this program has been raising awareness of issues of elder abuse in carer relationships. Many people provide support for a family member or a friend without identifying as a carer, and as a result, do not access the support services and financial assistance that might be available. Without appropriate support, there is a risk of carer burnout and stress that can inadvertently lead to elder abuse. Through this project, ECCV has worked with established and emerging CALD communities to increase understanding of elder abuse, raise awareness of preventative measures, and provide information about available support services. Before you hear more about the carer project, I would like to provide some background about the key role ECCV has played in raising awareness of elder abuse in the community for over a decade now, and supported by successive Victorian Government policies and initiatives. Our strength has been our long-standing relationship with multicultural communities in Victoria and all of you here today, and our connection with a diverse range of ethno-specific associations and elder abuse prevention experts. The success of our Raising Awareness of Elder Abuse in Ethnic Communities project lies in its capacity to reach some of the most vulnerable in our communities through culturally appropriate methodologies. And these include co-designing in-language resources with targeted communities, training bilingual community educators to deliver community information session, strong community outreach and engagement, and ongoing research and advocacy. The 2021 National Elder Abuse Prevalence Study found that 1 in 6 Australians, 15%, reported experiencing abuse in the previous 12 months. Elder abuse prevalence among CALD subgroups was found to be consistent with findings for the general population. In total, 15.3% of the called participants reported experiencing elder abuse, 30.6% of whom reported abuse relating to language and culture. The study highlighted how elder abuse affects particular groups in our community. The perpetrator of abuse is most often someone known to the older person, like a family member, a friend, a professional, or paid caregiver. Elder abuse disproportionately affects women. Older people with poorer health or disability are more likely to experience elder abuse. Older people who are living with a partner are less likely to experience elder abuse. Less frequent contact with family members and friends is associated with a higher likelihood of experiencing elder abuse, which means social isolation can contribute to elder abuse. Last year, ECCV released a literature review on elder abuse against people from migrant and refugee backgrounds, which mapped out evidence about emerging issues in elder abuse for people from migrant and refugee backgrounds to help inform further work and research. The findings suggest that people from migrant and refugee backgrounds experience multiple and unique forms of disadvantage that place them at greater risk of elder abuse. Ageism is a known driver of elder abuse, contributing to the neglect of older people across society. However, some cultural norms and beliefs can increase the risk of elder abuse as they shape perceptions of what constitutes abuse and whether it is tolerated. Vulnerability to elder abuse is also influenced by other systemic factors such as unemployment, poverty, and inadequate welfare systems. Recent research also points to how these vulnerabilities may have been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic due to increased social isolation, financial stress, and related mental health impacts on older people, their family members, and carers. More generally, the risk factors associated with elder abuse include gender, dependence on a trusted person, immigration status, limited English proficiency, and living with a cognitive impairment. Together, the risk factors and drivers of elder abuse in migrant and refugee communities contribute to barriers to reporting the abuse, as it is highly stigmatized, often unrecognized, and can be difficult to report to mainstream services that do not offer culturally responsive or appropriate care. ECCV plays a critical role in addressing the gaps in our knowledge of elder abuse and improving our ability to address it among migrant and refugee communities across Victoria. The Recognizing and Respecting Carers project has provided further invaluable insights into the issues affecting carers, their support needs and the importance of raising awareness of what may lead to elder abuse in care relationships. You will hear more about the project from our speakers today. I take this opportunity to thank all of you, and I would like now to introduce Judith Abbott, a dear colleague, the Chief Executive Officer at Carers Victoria, who are our partners in this project. Unfortunately, I have to run to another event, likely just across the road, and need to leave. But please do enjoy the rest of the forum, and thank you, Judith.
Thanks, Emiliano, for your kind welcome, and very kind of you to disappear. But I'll be sticking around to answer any questions that people might have. I too would like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands, the various lands from which we're joining this call today. For me, it's the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations, and I pay my deep respects to elders past, present and emerging, recognising the continuing connection to land and that sovereignty was never ceded. I'd also like to acknowledge each and every person, Aboriginal person who is here today. In the line of recognition, I also want to recognise the amazing contributions that Victorians providing unpaid care make to the lives of individuals in our society, in particular the significant number of whom are from multicultural households and communities. So That was a pretty striking set of data that Emiliano shared with us as a grounding piece for this forum. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about the carer-specific aspects of things. Wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't mention a bit about Carers Victoria. So our vision is really to achieve a future where all people providing unpaid care across Victoria are recognised, are valued and supported. And Carers Vic has played its part for over 30 years now by providing assistance, guidance, education, information, events and connections for carers across the state. You know, we really aspire to a future where carers no longer need to explain what it is they do because it's broadly understood across the entire community, that they don't need to battle to be included in key discussions that shape how and what support the person they're caring for receives, because services and systems will have adapted to make this a routine thing because it benefits everybody. And that carers can easily and quickly get a bit of guidance or help when their role is taking a toll and they need some assistance. Doesn't really feel like a lot to ask for a group who are making such a massive contribution to their communities and this state. But as many of you know, we do have a ways to go. And it's delightful to see so many familiar names on this call because I know this is a coalition of the willing. And we know that some of those issues and challenges for carers are particularly so for people providing unpaid care in multicultural households or communities, which is why it's so fantastic to have the opportunity to come together today with you all and to explore how we can better understand and meet their needs. For those of you who've had the pleasure of trying to find data about this cohort, I think we can most kindly describe that data as patchy, but we do know that there are at least 80,000 Victorians providing unpaid care who are speaking a language other than English at home. We know that, to Emiliano's point, there are likely to be many more people living in culturally and linguistically diverse households. And at Carers Victoria alone, we know that around 70% of the carers we support in Melbourne's West come from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds. The role of unpaid carer is one that many of us take on for someone we know. And while it can be rewarding, it can also be really challenging. It can be relentless and it can be quite lonely and isolating. So it's not surprising that many carers experience poorer mental health and wellbeing than others in their community. And the research and our own experience talks to some of the particular challenges faced by migrant or refugee Victorians in caring roles, such as long-term financial vulnerability, multiple care responsibilities, or the challenges of accessing culturally appropriate support services as and when they need it. And to Emiliano's point, you know, language and a deep understanding of cultural context is mission critical. And I was reflecting on this at a meeting I was at last week. We had people from 5 different cultural backgrounds in the room, at least 3 of whom had no word for care in their language because it was a presumed part of the family role and an essential part of what they were expected to do by their families and their communities. And that for me was, you know, a familiar but powerful reminder of how better understanding those challenges and how we can develop practical solutions and strategies in response can make a huge difference. And particularly with a new Victorian carer strategy to be developed, I think the time is right for some creative thinking that builds on the expertise and experience and hard work that many people on this call and others across the state have been doing, but also provides a way forward that means that more people from diverse backgrounds who are supporting families, friends or others can get the assistance they need. I did want to recognise that this is work that cannot be done without great collaboration and some dedicated resources. So I'm going to be a bit cheeky and almost start the event by thanking everyone on the call for the part you are playing and the collaborative approach you adopt with Carers Victoria and with so many other organisations to support this group of people. I did want to thank ECCV for the opportunity to work in this important area and learn together. And I also wanted to thank the Department of Fairness, Families and Housing and the Andrews Government for the funding that has made it happen. So I'm actually really excited about what the future can hold. It feels like the right time and the right place for this conversation. And I really look forward to working with you to make a real difference for carers in multicultural households and communities, so that across Victoria, everyone in caring roles are universally recognised, valued and supported. Thanks for your time. And I'm going to pass across to Danielle Haultain from the Department of Families, Fairness and Housing. Thanks, Danielle.
Thank you, Judith. Thank you very much for your lovely words. It says it all about the caring role in multicultural communities. And Danielle, she's running a bit late, so that's why we need to make some changes. We're going to start now. I'm going to introduce to you my colleague and my partner in this journey on this project that is very close to my heart and I'm sure to Moreen's. So Moreen Pakwan, I would like to introduce to you Moreen Pakwan. She is the manager, Carer Services, Carers Victoria. Moreen and myself, we've been working in this project together. This project, they're recognizing and respecting carers from multicultural, culturally and linguistically migrant background. I always have to stop when I'm saying the name. It's easier to say CAL, but it's more appropriate to say culturally and linguistically diverse background. So Moreen, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Yes. Okay. So recognizing and respecting carers from CAL background, ECCV has partnered with carers from Victoria, from Carers Victoria, to improve outcomes for carers from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds. This time I got it. Funded through the Department of Fairness, Families and Housing, project seeks to address priorities set out by the Victorian Government in the Victorian Carer Strategy 2018-2022. These priorities ensure that carers are healthy and well, they are engaged in education, employment, and community, can access respite and other support they need, have less financial stress, and are recognized, acknowledged, and respected. Moreen.
Thank you very much, Hayat. Good day, everyone. I'll introduce the aims of the project. So this project has aims to improve outcomes for carers from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds through engaging with and supporting CALD carers, the CALD carer community groups, raising awareness of elder abuse in care relationships among CALD carer support group leaders, and also raising awareness of the issues affecting CALD carers in the broader CALD community. And that has also included working with hidden carers, because many of the carers that we've worked with have actually never accessed the system before, and also working in regards to elder abuse in care relationships as well. In this project, we've worked with quite a few multicultural groups. There's been 2 Arabic groups, 2 Afghani groups, 6 Chinese groups. We've had 5 Turkish groups, 1 Spanish group, 1 Greek group, 1 Japanese group, and 4 Vietnamese groups. We've also had some mixed ethnic groups as well, which we've run in collaboration with other organizations, and those have included the Southern Migrant Refugee Center, the Doughan Neighborhood Learning Center, the Dandenong North Neighborhood Center, and also the Action for Disability Within Ethnic Communities, that is ADAC. So.
Challenges in accessing carer support services. The challenges varies from language barriers, digital literacy issues, cultural and religious reasons, the patriarchal nature of society, intersectionality, social stigma, data collection, and minimum data sets. Moreen.
So I'll talk about one of the two significant issues that that called carers have actually facing. So one of the things is around the language barrier. This has been quite a significant issue when it comes to accessing information and navigating the system. So we found a few things to have helped us in the process of running this project, and that has been to allocate more time to support carers to understand the information that you're providing and navigating. Our systems are quite challenged with time. And so we find that oftentimes we'll say, hand over a referral, a referral number, a phone number for an organization. That hasn't actually worked for cold carers that we have been working with in this project. So if you can please allocate some more time when you're working with cold carers, that would go a long way in helping this cohort of carers. So being proactive in both making referrals and following up with the referrer that you have made, you've made that referral to. So the service providers that you're working with, and also with the carer. We often found that when a number was handed over or a referral was made, the carer just fell through the loopholes, and that connection was quite important, that whoever established that referral would then need to make the connection with the service provider and make sure that that connection had actually happened. Offering translation and interpreter services has been quite important as well, so that people can actually understand the information that you're providing in their own language. Some community groups have tended to prefer to use their own group leaders as the ones that provide the translation, and that has been helpful in terms of establishing rapport and connection with those community groups, and actually ensuring that people do turn up to the groups that have been set up to be run. So, and being aware about what could go wrong when you're running groups with multicultural groups, and thinking ahead and putting mitigations in place to support the groups that have been established. And the issue of the language barrier further makes that issue around digital literacy quite complex when cold carers are navigating the systems, whether it's carer support services or it's mainstream systems as well. So we found that digital literacy has been an issue for cold carers. Among us cold carers, majority of the carers that we've worked with have also been in the aged cohort, which has made it a lot more complex. Imagine yourself in a system where you have a language barrier and you also have a digital literacy issue, and you're trying to make a carer support payment application or apply for carers allowance or register for an event that one of the carer support organizations may be offering. So that's been quite a significant barrier and continues to be a significant barrier for cold communities. Over to you, Hayat.
Thanks, Moreen. Now I would like to talk about the cultural and religious reasons for carers not accessing services. There are many, they may be reluctant to access carer support services due to reasons like it's a family member's duty to provide care. So as the carer feels, okay, this is, for example, my husband, is my duty to provide care, or my son or my daughter. So I'm not supposed to be getting any benefit out of it or getting any support. Also, sometimes family members, this can include family, friends, and community members, do not see themselves as carers. They're what we call the hidden carers, because they don't identify as carers. They take it as their duty and as their role, and life goes on, and that's it. The other reason is providing some religious reasons are like there's some beliefs, they say by providing support and caring for other people, you get an eternal reward. And if I get support, if I have someone paying me or supporting me in this role, I may lose the eternal award. So this is something very important for people who are practicing religion and following their religion. So these are some of the cultural and religious barriers. Now up to you, Moreen.
Thank you, Hayat. So the other challenge for cold carers is the patriarchal nature of society. This is a barrier for everyone, but also still is a barrier for cold communities as well. So we found that men are more likely to access information and support about caring. We tend to have more cold care men who are cold carers that access the system. However, we found that which is not surprising, a lot of the women are the ones that are providing that caring role. However, are also the ones that do not have the access to the information about the caring supports that are available. So this is because women have, generally speaking, been in the caring role for many generations. And so when you come into a new community where there is other support services like caring support services that could be available to you, it is not a given that women will seek out for those services. So it is important that we do reach out into the cold communities as well, and be able to provide information in ways and in places where we can access these hidden carers. And many women are hidden carers, and because of the patriarchal nature of society, they don't get access to that information. Over to you, Hayat.
Thanks, Moreen. I would like to talk about intersectionality. So intersection, we need to understand how the various social and political identities may combine to create different modes of discrimination, advantage and disadvantage. There are layers of advantage or disadvantage. For example, when you look at the race, ethnicity, gender, so a class, religion, disability or ability, physical appearances, ageism, etc. All these things play a big role when we are dealing with carers and when carers are trying to access services. We have to be aware of also of the balance of power. For example, if you have a carer, if she is over 50, so she has one layer about age. If she's female, gender, she's a female. This is another layer of disadvantage sometimes for her. If she's working or not working, all these things, religion, for example, the way she dresses up. If she has a disability, it adds another layer of vulnerability, and so physical appearance, everything combined together. This is how it makes it. Defines how the carers are going to be able to access support services. Also, we need to be aware of the balance of power between carer and care recipient and carer and service providers. There is always this, the more the carer has disadvantages, the more the power is on the other side, the service provider or with other people than the carer. Also, we need to talk about the social stigma. It is very important. Some people, especially parents, if they have a child with disability, they don't want to identify themselves as carers because they don't want people to know that they have a child with disability. Some people even don't talk about those children, not if they don't exist. Another issue of stigma, adult children, when the parents has dementia and they try to start, they may isolate their parents who suffer from dementia because they don't want other people to see the parents in this situation. They want their parents to be always seen as the strong, the smart person. When the parents are in different situations, they don't want people to see it. So they're doing that. In this case, they will be isolating the parents, they'll be doing some type of elder abuse without realizing because of the stigma. Back to you, Moreen.
Thank you. The next thing we're going to talk about is around the data collection and minimum data sets. everyone in the room will be aware around the requirements for reporting for any funding agreements. And that seems to be an issue that has created an access issue for cold carers as well. And this is in the aspect of where there is a dilemma that is created for organizations when it comes to those information collection processes that you have. We all have in our organizations to be able to meet our reporting obligations versus trying to build trust and connection with cold communities. So we've often found that carers will come and they'll come into a group, and we've also experienced in this group where actually one of the carer groups actually decided not to proceed because they did not want to hand over their information. So it's really important that in our processes, we build in it, not just our reporting requirements, but creating an environment that is welcoming and building trust with cold carers. There are different reasons why people may be hesitant around handing over their personal information. And this can include experiences of discrimination, where there are past or current traumatic experiences, where there may be cultural beliefs where you just don't hand over some kinds of information to someone, especially someone that you may be meeting for the first time. Our systems are set to gather that information prior to building rapport, which is not helpful to engaging with such multicultural groups of people. So communities have also reported incidences where organizations have actually gone out to them and been able to collect their data, but not actually have provided services to either individuals or to communities, as one of the reasons as to why they are hesitant in providing that information when someone goes out. Well, this is the information I would like to get from you before I do provide a service. There's also that need for you to just establish that you care. People tend to engage with you better once they establish that you do truly care for them and are trying to meet their needs. That doesn't often come across, especially when you start with give me this whole set of information that is very relevant for you to collect, but that's not what they're looking at the get-go. So try and build into your systems a process of building rapport and communicating care as you try and fulfill the organizational processes regarding your minimum data sets. Over to you, Hayat.
Thanks, Moreen. Now I would like to talk about the project approach. So engagement with carers group is a way of understanding and addressing community needs through listening, building relationships, and collaborations. Community engagement includes organizing capacity building information sessions and workshops for carers group. Also, tailoring information sessions and social activities based on their needs. What I would like to talk now about the steps followed by project officer, that is me, to engage carers from multicultural community. Looking at this photo, this is a Vietnamese group. They prefer to meet in a restaurant. So I went and met with them after meeting with their group leader, because the first connection to the group is their group leader. Remember, those people, all the carers or every community member, they always trust their group leader. So the first person to meet is the group leaders. The second step is to meet the group. This photo is taken when I met the group, and to build this connection with them. And after we do need analysis. So it is very important, like Moreen discussed before. We can't ask them their contact details, their data, to give us all this unless we have this relationship with them. And when they start trusting us, they will feel comfortable and they will give us what we need. So after meeting with the group and the group leaders, I sat down with the group leader and did need analysis, what the group needs. Every group has different needs. So we do the need analysis. And after this, I will start working on matching the needs with the service delivery. So for example, I will give you, so after the need analysis, we're matching the needs with service. We deliver the information sessions and the workshop. So I'm going to give a case study to make it easier for you to understand how it's working. For example, I'm working, I have this Afghan group that is coming from a newly and emerging community. So they're new in Australia. They have many, many layers of barriers. And the first most important barrier for them is the language. When I sat with the group leaders and did the need analysis, I realized there is nothing we can't build the capacity of this group unless we build their capacity of speaking or understanding language. Our funding didn't allow us to do this. So our director and the manager, they went back to the department, discussed the situation with them, and we got approved to fund English classes. So I organized and English class teacher, adult education teacher, she started delivering every week a session for them in English. So in the beginning, any person of this group couldn't write even their own names. When I asked them to give me their name and contact details, they will give me their phone number, their mobile, to read their name and contact number. By the end of us working with them and delivering the English classes, they were able to introduce themselves, talk about where they're coming from, start even writing. And the best thing that happened, the highlight of this English class, like in the beginning, they were sitting, the men were sitting outside, they were not allowed to sit in the room with the women. After the men came and sat in the back of the room, in the end, the last session, we had men and women sitting all together and helping each other with the homework they needed to do. So this allowed us to go ahead and deliver our information session. As I said, because most groups, they asked us, they wanted the group leaders to be helping with, supporting with the language, instead of having an interpreter. So we did it with the group, with the Greek group, we did it with the Afghan. Most group, all group actually preferred their group leader to work with them. And it turned out to be very beneficial because every group leader, they know all the members of their group, and they were, addressing them and trying to answer this question. So because of this, after we were able to provide this particular group with a self-care session about age care, NDIS, with the support of Carers Victoria. Even we had to provide them a session from Travelers Aid, how to use public transport. So this is how, what I'm saying, we tailored our response to the needs of each group. This is the only group who had a need to learn about public transport, so we provided them with this. This is one story of the groups, and each group has a different and a unique story with them. And the next thing, okay, so now I leave it to you, Moreen.
Yeah. The next thing we're talking about is the enablers of working with cold groups. One of the things has been the community leaders and the community members. And we start by saying community members before we identify carers per se, because that has been an important aspect of this group. With the multicultural communities we've gone into, people did not identify as carers. But often ended up at the end we work with carers, so we knew that there would be carers. However, they did not identify as carers from the get-go. So it was important that we went and worked with the community leaders and worked with the worked with the communities themselves, and then we're able to really build awareness and also help carers to be able to identify that they were carers and seek out services. So the community leaders were really helpful in building that connection. networking with the groups and mobilizing their community members and talking about what the needs of those communities. Oftentimes you'll find the community leaders have either speak a little bit more English than what the rest of the group may be able to do, and they're able to identify those needs and put forward what the needs of those communities are. That did not mean that we did not have to speak to the community members as well. So there was that step of speaking to the community leaders, and then also moving forward and speaking to the community members and ensuring that that information was actually quite similar, or where there were differences, where the community, the group leader may have identified different needs, or just stated it a little bit differently from what the community members have said. We actually do build that connection together to have sufficient information about what the ultimate needs of that community group are. And this really made it easier for us in the work that we were doing when it came to that building that needs analysis, and then coming back after we met with those with the communities and sitting down and talking through what exactly was available that would be able to meet the services, the needs in that community. The community leaders are often balancing between their own caring role, working a job for their own income, but also supporting their own communities. I think someone said to me recently that community members are working by day and supporting their communities by night. And I wonder when they actually get their own time to be able to take care of their own needs. It is such a big task that they do take on because they want to see their communities become better and really integrate into the general Australian community. So find ways of supporting the community members. Some of the things we found were able to work amidst the stringent things that funding comes with. Find ways of using budget things like vouchers, petrol vouchers, to be able to meet some of the needs that the community leaders do have. Be able to budget for the payment of these community leaders. I don't see why moving forward we actually don't have systems where we pay people for their own time. If you imagine a group of people, a huge group of people actually who are out there supporting communities but doing it as a volunteer role, and then having to find their own income. If they did this for a living, I think that would be fantastic for us as a general community. So budget the recognition of community leaders and the work that is being done out of their own good hearts, to actually have some sort of payment as well to it. I know this is going to be a big battle with government to try and recognize that, but I think we need to be moving in that direction as well. Collaboration amongst service providers was a really important thing that we have had to build into this project. Yes, from the get-go, ECCV and Carers Victoria were always going to be working on this project together, but the two organizations alone, as much as we have quite a huge knowledge base and expertise working with both multicultural communities and working with carers for such a long time, it was essential that we did lean on other services as well. And so we've worked with other services. For instance, Peninsula Community Legal Center has been very essential in delivering legal service sessions to carers, and that was a highly demanded for session, talking to carers about wills and other things that other legal issues that they wanted to have a chat about. AMSCS was really essential in coming to the table in delivering social connection groups and activities which weren't funded for in this project. And given that a lot of the groups that ended up being identified were actually in the Southeast, carers whereas Victoria has funding for support for carers, but our funding is in the West. So at that point, we're a bit helpless in terms of trying to put more funding into those social connection groups. But AMSCS came to the table. They understood the needs of the groups that we were working with, and they actually went on to support those groups after the sessions, during and after the sessions were completed as well. So that collaboration is really important in terms of us sharing our expertise, knowledge, sharing our resources, and also being able to help carers that do not know much about the system to be able to access the system and access resources a lot better. Over to you, Hayat.
Thanks, Moreen. And I would like to talk about one of the very important enablers for carers, is the support for carers program, the new funding that many organizations receive to support carers. Their access to care. So this funding, like our project, we had funding to do capacity building session, but in the need analysis, we realized that the carers need to have some fun. They want to do socialize, they want to do social activities, and they want to go out on excursions, go out, have dinner, have lunch. This, we will not be able to fund this, but because of this carer support program, the funding, and our collaboration with such organizations such as Australian Multicultural Community Services, who are funding those type of activities and even supporting us with digital literacy session, it was made available for our carers. We ran some, we took the carers excursion. Some of them went to Tulip Festival, and most of them, they wanted to go to hot springs. And we all know hot springs is a bit expensive, but people dream about going there. They can never afford it to go there. But because of this project and this collaboration, we were, and the funding from the Victorian Government, we were able to take them. And I have also for the next 2 months sessions, outings planned for other groups and for Mother's Day, end of year, and so much is happening, so much fun. It's not only, and because of this funding and this activity, social activity, it made my work easier. So the groups I'm working with now, when I say I'm gonna organize a session about self-care or elder abuse or my age care, they're all welcoming the sessions because they know after they're gonna go somewhere and have fun. So this is one of the biggest enabler. But in saying so, we have to be aware of another issue that for carers, the access for carer support program services enable us to do all these things, but it is very important to know that even the fund is there, unless the carers are linked in and they have the right support, they won't be able to benefit from it. When I say this, so linked in, but having someone like myself telling them about what is available, because for carers from multicultural backgrounds, they're not going to sit and move online and Google and find out what is there for them. They need a special response to them. They need someone to tell them, these services, this funding is there. This is available for you. The other thing is, even after knowing, they can't access it because of issues like we discussed before, digital literacy, not knowing about the services, navigating the system. It's a very big issue for carers from multicultural backgrounds. So if the carers also, they need support, like say, or to navigate the system. Also, the importance of ensuring carers are supported in accessing the services, the support they need to minimize risk factors associated with the elder abuse. I will explain about this. If the carer doesn't have any support, the carers, they don't have support and they don't know how to access services, they're left on their own, they may get burned out. So in the end, without realizing, and unintentionally, they may start abusing the care recipient. because this will be causing elder abuse for them. Also, the other factor is they don't get support and they don't look after themselves. They need to learn self-care and looking after themselves. If they don't know this and they get better, they may become physically and emotionally ill, and probably will end up in need of a carer themselves. So this is very important to know that we need support for those carers. Thank you. So now I'll leave it up to you, Moreen, to talk to us about the. Okay, Moreen.
All right, thank you, Hayat. We talk about the some of the project learnings and some of the things to consider. So some of the project learnings we've got is we need to have one-on-one support for carers to be able to register for services. One size does not fit all. Support needs to be tailored to individual needs. Each case is different, and so respond to each case according to the needs that have been identified. More service providers are needed within the southeastern region. We tended to get a lot more carers seeking out for support and really struggle to also engage carers into support services because the wait was just either really long. The services were inundated as well with that just getting to access support, and the amount of support that is required for these carers as well is more intense. So we need more services to be able to fill that gap. We need more respite care for carers. Again, improving the access for respite for carers is really important. So things that you need to consider when engaging with carers for migrant and refugee communities is one, your data collection and minimum data sets, and how you really engage with this and the hindrances that may pose when you're engaging with cold carers. Service provision. Think about what your intake processes are, whether your services are actually quite approachable and welcoming and safe and inclusive to cold carers, and that through that journey, the carer journey for whoever is coming into the service, that there is a set of collaboration that is there. Cold carers really struggle to pass on information from one service to the other. For instance, you've got to come from, the carer gateway access, Carers Victoria, and then you may have to go through to say the Australian multicultural community as well. It's a similar set of data that is required. And the thing that we can tweak at the forefront could be, how do we actually make sure that our systems gain consent and really provide that information to the carer to be able to give you that consent to share the information that is required for whatever purpose or whatever linkages that carer requires, that the carer does not need to repeat their information 3 ways. Being transparent about what our service offerings we have for a purpose, oftentimes said, we'll first find out about what you need and then we'll tell you what you have. That makes it a lot more difficult for cold carers to access services. It is good for you to be upfront with what your service offering really is, so that they know what they can come to you for, and who else is out there in the community that they can access. Offering translation and interpreting services is really important as well, so that information can actually be received in people's own languages, and shortening information. We have a lot of very beautiful information on all our websites that is very difficult to translate if you're speaking, if you're not, English is not your second, is not your first language. Even when somebody speaks to you in English, it may not be that's simplistic in receiving that information, because they have to interpret that information in their own language and then be able to respond back to you. So think about these processes as you put through any service systems that you may have as well. Thank you very much for listening to us. Hope that information was helpful, and I'll pass back to you, Hayat.
Thank you, Moreen. And now I would like to introduce Danielle from the Department of, I would like to introduce you Danielle Haultain she's the Director Senior Care and Elder Abuse Reform, Department of Family Fairness, Families and Housing, to talk to us about Victorian Government and supporting Victoria's carers.
Hi, Hayat. Hi, everyone. It's lovely to be here with you today. And I just wanted to say thank you for accommodating me, as I was a little bit late today and I was meant to be earlier on. So I really do appreciate the flexibility to move things around. I did catch the end of that presentation, and I really would just like to reaffirm what Moreen was saying around the need for language-specific care and the bicultural workers. They're both really, really important in this space. And I say that with my multicultural affairs hat on, because that's where my substantive role is. And I am just acting in the director role in seniors, carers and elder abuse. So I've kind of got two hats. So I just wanted to make that plug for the multicultural space. Now, I think if you could just bear with me a moment, my speaking notes have disappeared. Here they are. Okay. So before we jump into all the things that the government is doing in this space, we just wanted to take a moment to consider the diversity of Victoria's carers and how that affects how we approach the work that we're doing to support carers in Victoria. And the big picture statistics around that is we know that there are over 700 carers in Victoria, and 70% of those are female. We know that that number is increasing, and it's estimated that it's going to reach 1 million by 2025. We know that it's an extremely diverse cohort of Victorians. It has representation across all of our priority cohorts, including First Nations, culturally linguistically diverse, older, younger, LGBTIQ+ members of our community. So it is really important that we consider the diversity of the cohort when we are working on providing supports for them. We know that carers often give up employment to take care of others. We know that carers, young carers in particular, can be severely impacted in attending school and doing homework. We know that carers experience social isolation and loneliness, especially carers in rural and regional remote areas. So that gives us a really broad kind of cross reference of the carer cohort. And if we move to the next slide, we can see some of the impacts of that. Carers make an enormous contribution to the health and well-being of those they care for. And in doing that, carers make a huge contribution to the health and well-being of the community. And it's estimated that carers save the Victorian Government $19 million a year. And that's a huge, huge contribution to the state. But carers also experience more physical and mental health conditions than others. They're often more isolated than non-carers, and they often give up their employment and careers and things that they love to do to take care of another. And that's not to undermine what they get out of that as a person. It's just to say that those are the things that we have been fed back to us in consultation. And it's also why it's so important that we seek to support carers through a range of supports. So if we go on to the next slide and look at what those supports are. The Support for Carers program has been supporting carers in Victoria since the 1990s. The program has recently undergone its largest ever recommissioning. So this recommissioning has enabled the Victorian Government to extend the program's reach to more rural and regional areas of the state, where carers can face more social isolation and loneliness, as we saw up above. It has meant that we have been able to improve support to First Nation carers through strengthening an approach to carers' self-determination, better support for diverse carers, including culturally linguistically diverse carers, LGBTIQ+ carers, and young carers. And it's also meant we've been able to build better partnerships and networks between providers in different rural, regional, and metropolitan areas. Service providers aim to aim to continuously seek feedback from carers to gain a better understanding of their needs and how this can change over time. And I think that's an extremely important part of our process, is to make sure that that continues to happen through the means that we have available to us. So if we go to slide 5, consultations have shown us that carers strongly value and appreciate respite support. And I think we heard that before in the presentation that was just delivered. Respite can be direct support to the carer, direct support to care recipient, or direct support to both carer and care recipient in the same or separate activities. We really encourage providers to explore different and innovative ways of developing respite to meet the needs of individuals and diverse groups of carers. Supports might include day or night activities, overnight support, weekends away, bus trips, peer support, anything that meets the objective of providing respite to carers. Through COVID, we saw that providers showed great innovation and initiative, and carers have shown great preparedness to seek and receive support in different ways. We've seen a rise in the use of online platforms for carers to access information or connect with one another, which continue even though restrictions have eased. So it's really great to see that there were some benefits to a really, really hard few years. This includes supports like online exercise groups, recreational activities, online support, social groups, and delivery of morning cheese for a virtual tea break with other carers. It also includes moving in-person activities to more accessible spaces, such as open-air gatherings. And on slide 6, so ECCV was one of the 5 recipients in a second round of statewide partnership grants, focusing on preventing elder abuse of people in care relationships. Sustainable elements of these grants include ongoing financial literacy support for carers through Financial Counselling Victoria, ongoing support for young carers through Little Dreamers and the Department of Education. And then another initiative that the department is running is the Carers Employment Initiative. This seeks to address priority 2 of the carers strategy. Carers are supported in school, study and work environments. This includes working to ensure workplaces recognise and support employees to balance in their work and care responsibilities, and that carers will have better access to support and training to remain or re-enter the paid workforce. The primary focus of this program is helping employers and education providers to identify how they can better support carers in the workplace, as well as in education and training. The model was created in consultation with carers, care providers and peak bodies, and it funds 22 providers to deliver the Carers Employment Support Program and supporting carers statewide since December 2021. The initiative has done a lot. It has provided tailored employment supports for unpaid carers. It's provided vocational training, increased our understanding of carers' employment needs and barriers to paid work, and created secure, flexible employment opportunities for carers, and helped to address workforce shortages in the community, aged care and disability sectors. And that work is still ongoing. Then if we move to slide 7, the Victorian Government funds Carers Victoria for a range of supports to carers, including telephone, navigation support, education and training activities, and networking activities through local carers groups. The Victorian Carers Advisory Group has been chaired by the Parliamentary Secretary for Carers. We don't have one of those anymore, so this is a watching space to see what we're doing there next as we work through that. But it has contributed to understanding carers' changing needs and their use of care supports. The annual Carers Forum has provided carers the opportunity to connect with others and to hear what support providers can offer. The Carers Week and Carers Week provides opportunities for carers around the state to connect with each other locally and engage in education and fun, health and wellbeing activities. Carers Week is also supported by the government. So that is the very quick run through of everything the Victorian Government is doing, and I understand we have time for questions across the whole forum after this. So I have the handy team on standby to help me answer any questions you might have later on.
Thank you very much, Danielle, for your lovely presentation. And now I will move to our carer with lived experience. I would like to introduce to you Randa. She's a group leader, the Arabic seniors women group leader. And Randa, I leave it up to you to introduce yourself and tell us your story.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you, Hayat, for giving me this opportunity. I'm Randa Abboud. I'm a volunteer group leader of the Arabic Women Senior Group in the Southeast area. The aim of my role is to encourage members to get out of isolation and keep them active physically and mentally by providing them with different activities. We get together regularly every Thursday from 10:30 till 1:30. We meet at North Dandenong Neighborhood House, except on holidays, public holidays and school holidays. Part of our planning program is to have information sessions about different topics related to health and well-being. Most of our group members are carers. The Carers Capacity Building Project Officer from ECCV helped us and organized educators from Carer Victoria and other agencies to talk to us about different topics like aged care services, legal rights, elder abuse, self-care, and NDIS. We gained a lot of knowledge about these services and how to access them. But unfortunately, some members had issues trying to communicate and access those services due to lack of digital literacy skills, poor English language skills, long waiting on the line to be connected, no follow-up after leaving the queries, and much more. One of the carers' husbands, by the time he get assessed and approved for the aged care package, he passed away. So they both couldn't benefit anything from the aged care package. I personally have a tough experience with the NDIS, as they pushed my husband, who I'm care for, to apply for NDIS and get interviewed. And after that, they disapproved the application because of certain criteria that he needs to meet. Why they tell us to apply if they already know all his details in the records they have? Anyway, they raised our hopes for nothing. After I found out that it was part of their job to sign up clients more than to help them. ECCV project officer helped one of our carers to apply and get approved for carer payment and carer allowance, and organized an aged care package for the carer recipient too. Another carer gets support to find ways on how to benefit from the aged care package budget. Also, as part of ECCV support in collaboration with Seniors Right Victoria, I personally had the opportunity to be trained to become a bilingual educator for elder abuse awareness project. And I delivered a session in Arabic language to my group. Now the group members have more knowledge about their legal rights, support services for carers and carer recipients, and where to get help. They feel more empowered to advocate for themselves and their families. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Randa, for sharing your story with us. And this also proves that there is a need for carers to be linked in, because if they can't access services themselves, they need someone to guide them and to support them to access those services. Thank you very much. We really are thankful to the Victorian Government for their funding. And I would like to thank all our presenters. Emiliano is not here, but he knows I will say thank you. I would like to thank Judith, Danielle, and Moreen, and last but not least, Randa, Abboud, our carer group volunteer. And I would like to thank everyone who attended today's session, today's forum. I hope you are more aware now and have more information about the carers' needs and the challenges and what needs to be done. And let us start thinking on where to go from now. Thanks again, everyone, for attending today's forum and for your contribution. Thank you.